What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Creativ Rise podcast. I'm so glad you're here for this episode specifically. We have Ashley Linnane on the podcast today. We are going to dive into her journey of what it was like. We met actually 6 months ago, almost to the date, of what it was like from going from feeling burnt out, from feeling like she's hustling these one-off personal brand shoots every single month. And she was having some really amazing months. She was making incredible progress in her business. But she just didn't want that one-off style anymore. She wanted something that felt more sustainable, something that was just more growth-oriented, and something that was more financially predictable in her business. And I feel like a lot of listeners are probably like, oh my gosh, you are preaching to the choir. In that case, you will love this episode because Ashley, 6 months ago, felt like her business was doing that. And then in such a short 6 months, she has gone from feeling like hustling, burnt out, to has built an agency that is doing 30K months with continual clients. It's not just like a 30-month peak. This is 30K consistent months, which is incredible. Ashley has accomplished so much in the last 6 months. She's learned so much in the last 6 months. This episode's really exciting. We dive into so much of what that journey looks like, kind of how to build a personal brand yourself while having to, also give value and offer really incredible things to clients to create recurring revenue like 30K months, and it continues to grow. We talk about partnerships, getting in business with other people. It's so good, you guys. This entire podcast is like so filled with value. So stick around for the entire thing. It is incredible. So guys, get ready. Here's Ashley.
Ashley, welcome to the show. Quick spoiler, we just got like 3 or 4 minutes into the show and I realized that I flopped and never actually clicked record. But it was such a great conversation. So we're going to rewind for everybody listening and redo rapid fire. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
so glad to have you
here.
here.
Round 2.
For the second time.
For the second time. You are the first guest to officially be on twice in one day. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for doing this again. And we're so glad you're here, Ashley.
Yes.
We're going to do rapid fire questions for everybody. So where are you from and what is your creative business?
Yeah, so I'm from Sacramento, California, really close to these guys. And I am a brand photographer. And I was in the kind of personal brand coaching space as well. But now I'm the co-founder of a social media marketing agency and still doing brand photography on the side. But that's all new since we've worked together. So a little
Love it.
crazy.
So much has happened. I'm so excited
Yeah.
to dive into it.
And when you say social media marketing agency, who are you guys working with?
Yeah, so our clients are it kind of ranges, a lot of personal brands. We have a few like big fitness accounts, mostly female entrepreneurs that are building businesses
Super cool.
and needed to like offload their social media so that they could scale and focus on other things. And the
Yeah.
cool part is like my business partner and I have been in this industry like for the last 6 years. And so as other people's business have grown, our connections, we're all kind of at that same state. So we didn't have
Yeah.
to like start
It's
brand
amazing.
new to find clients. I feel like a lot of people knew who we were. We were pretty established in this industry and everyone was kind of at that point of their business that they're ready to scale and, outsource some things. So
I love
actually
that.
really worked in our favor for the timing of everything.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're 6 months old, which is
Yeah.
insane. So we're going to hop into that one pretty
Yeah.
soon. It's going
Yeah.
to be so much fun. But how long have you been in creative business? Like you yourself, how long have you been in creative
Well, I
business
bought my
for?
camera, I remember in like 2018, just to like adventure around and go on hikes and stuff. And then started shooting for brands in like 2019. Actually, my current business partner and I had a female like meetup group in Sacramento. She was a business coach and I was a brand photographer. And that was super successful. So that was kind of the very budding beginning of our relationship
I love
business-wise. And
that.
we attracted a lot of female entrepreneurs in the space. So then I kind of started and now, been shooting for 6 years pretty much.
Love it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Really cool.
And then Christy's favorite question. What's a flop you've had?
Yeah.
What's something to humanize you? We're going to talk about all the great
Since we
things
already
that
humanized
Ashley
Joey,
has
let's
learned
humanize you
and,
as
and
well.
can teach from. But what's
Oh my
something you
gosh.
flopped on the same way that I forgot to click record at the beginning of this
Yeah.
conversation?
I know. I literally have so many, but one that like I just didn't learn my lesson the first time was being at a shoot and like running out of memory on my memory card and really awkwardly trying to like fill time so I could like secretly scroll back and delete some photos because I didn't have a backup that I could use in my camera at the time. And that was always really awkward. It was like sweating in front of the client, just like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
I want to crawl in a hole. Like, why do I do this? And like, I wish I could say it just happened once, but I've done that a few times. But now I've learned my lesson. I have like a million extra SD cards because
I
I
love
used to
it.
just have like 3 in my bag. Like, and sometimes
Yeah.
I
Yes.
wouldn't, clear them before every shoot. So I
Yep.
was just really rolling the dice. I don't
We learned our lesson.
Oh my
We
gosh.
learned our lesson.
I feel
That
like
is
it's always
stressful.
you're always in the camera store or you're on Amazon or whatever, and you're like, okay, I could get the 128 gig, or I can
Yeah.
get the 64 gig for this price, or I could get the
Oh.
128 gig. And it's like, I don't need that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll
I
just go with the
could-
cheaper one,
I
you
just
know?
would
And then
go-
it's
I
like,
could
why did
never
I not
go.
get
Literally.
the
I could
256?
Here's a hot take. I could never go above 64 because I was like, if I just have this irrational fear that one of my cards is going to fail. I guess it's not that irrational, but I always chose 64 because I was like, 128, that's a lot of images on one card. Like, I
Yeah.
would
They need to
constantly
go.
change my cards, even if they weren't full on wedding days.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a little bit
Christy,
paranoid of
when
me.
we
but-
first met and we first started shooting stuff together, like working together, she'd be like, why are you using such big cards? And I'm like, because I don't want to have to change
He's like, because
it.
I
She's
trust
like,
in
that's
life
so
and
sketchy.
reality.
And then Christy carries that like little pouch on her wedding
Yes.
days, and it's like she protects that thing with her
Full.
life.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
second you take a
Like
card out,
driving
it goes
home
in
from
there.
a wedding, I'd be like going to the gas station. I'm like, I'm bringing it in with me. Like, I'm
Yes.
not leaving it in the car.
Right.
Going into In-N-Out with you, yeah.
Oh, I love
can
that.
imagine
That's
the
so
things,
good.
Like the stress of like, you can't
Oh my
leave
goodness.
The
that,
stress is
like,
Yes.
high. Absolutely.
So, co-founder of Break Room Marketing, which is really
Yes.
cool. But you didn't start there. So we're going to
Yeah.
get to where you started in a second because it's a really cool story. But why don't you just quickly explain to us where you're at with Break Room Marketing? What is it? Who do you serve?
Revenue-wise, where it's
where
at.
are you guys at business-wise? And
Yeah.
then you've only been around for 6 months. So give us a
Yeah.
quick little synopsis on what Break Room Marketing is.
Yeah, so Breakroom Marketing, we offer Instagram social media management and Pinterest management, soon to be hopefully email management as well.
Cool.
But we work with a lot of like multi-six-figure earners leading big brands that really just don't have time for social, but still want that really quality, high touch, like it's still from me feeling content. So not just generic pumping out a ton of like billboard type content, but content that really feels and sounds like them. So that's who our market is. And yeah, we've been around for 6 months. It really started like my business partner, Tori, she was freelancing, doing social media management on the side. She'd been a business coach for years. So had I. And back in like October last year, she's like, hey, I have a little bit too much work on my plate. Like, can I pay you to like help me out with this? And I'm like, sure, some consistency again. Consistency in income is good. Like, okay, I'll get a little paycheck doing this side work. And then like in January, February, we had an epiphany. Things started growing. She's like, hey, can we take on more clients? I'm like, sure. And then we're like, okay, do you want to do this? Because I kind of want to do this. We had this moment of like looking at each other like, should we do this? And we were sitting in my living room, like on the couch, like, should we just go like halvesies and like run an agency? Like it was this weird, casual, like, we could really do this. There's some momentum behind this and it's
Yeah.
palpable. We were like, I think people really trust us in the industry. And so making this switch wouldn't be like, whoa, shocking, or it wouldn't be like starting from ground zero. Once we did it, people would be like, oh my gosh, Ashley and Tori back together doing this thing,
Yeah.
So I think that really helped. It was kind of funny how casual it was like, yeah, I think we should just go for it. Like,
Yeah,
here we are.
for sure. And
Yeah.
and that is such a cool, like, I feel like I love to hear beginning stories of really successful companies because it's always usually starts so casual. Like, if it's friends sitting by a pool going, should we just start this thing or what? Like, it's never like this big boardroom conversation. So that's really cool.
Totally.
So what is Break Room Marketing? What are you guys doing as an agency after 6 months? What's like top line revenue for you guys right now?
Yeah, so we're pretty much at like $30,000 a month, like in contracts.
It's amazing.
And the cool thing about it is like as we're growing, like we have kind of set packages and things like that are kind of ever evolving and changing as we're really hearing what our clients are needing and wanting from us. So, we had a baseline package and then a client was like, well, can you create B-roll for me? Or can you do email marketing? Or can you do this? And we're like, sure. So it's kind of giving us a good idea of how we can even increase the value that we're giving in each package and then raise the price. So that's been really cool to see too.
It's amazing.
And I think working with bigger brands, like, some of our clients have like 500,000-600,000 followers or whatever. So they're like, they have a lot more weight and they have a lot more riding on this. So they don't just want us to like post every day. They want like a full comprehensive marketing plan
Yeah.
to know that like
Yeah.
we can handle multiple things going at a time.
Yeah.
But most of them, Instagram is their moneymaker. That is where
Yep.
their community is. And maybe they repost to TikTok and stuff too, but Instagram is the thing that's driving the most revenue for them. So
Yeah.
that's like what we decided and what our specialty is. That's where Tori and I both grew up on the internet, so to speak. So that's really our comfort
Yes.
zone. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Love that.
cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back to where you're at right now in a second, because I've got a lot of questions. We've got a lot of
Yes.
questions that we want people to listen in on around what it looks like to actually build an agency
Okay.
and go from being a brand photographer to like, I'm more of an operational person now.
Yeah.
And I'm like hiring
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
firing and
And I'm
training.
making consistent monthly income, not like a 30K month. It's
Right.
30K consistent
Yeah.
retainer months, which is huge.
So we're going to talk about that, but
Yeah.
I want to go back. So
Yeah.
we actually met you in, I think it was January
Yeah.
of this year, and you were a brand photographer. You were running the Elevator Entrepreneur.
Yep.
And you were in round 11 of the Creativ Rise Mastermind, which was so fun. And when we met you, you were like, okay, I've been doing this personal brand, pretty female focused personal brand photography business for a while. I know there's room to grow it, but I'm kind of open. I'm open to if there's ways to like shape shift this
Yeah.
into something that would be even better for me. And then as you started to go through the mastermind, shortly after that, as you started to take on some work with a friend, break room marketing started to kind of be born, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But why don't you take us back? Like, how did you start the Elevator Entrepreneur and what was it? Let's start there.
So, like I said, 2019, Tori and I, were friends. And I was doing photography, she was doing business coaching, and I loved it. I was starting to book a ton of photography clients. We had a huge community. And then the pandemic hit and all my photography clients went away. I was teaching first grade at the time. I was teaching from home. So I thought I was like going to quit my job, but then all this income just went away. So it was really scary. But at the time I was in a couple coaching programs, like how to, build a business and be more confident and all these things. And I was like, okay, I could kind of like teach people what I've learned about how I got all these photography clients, and through building a personal brand online, I could teach people how to do that. So I started coaching in that time and really teaching other people, other photographers, like how to attract clients through being yourself and not just talking about photography all day, every day, but really building a personal brand. And so that's kind of what rooted me in. I fell in love with like sharing on social media. I grew a community of people that I just felt really close to online. And back when people started opening up their doors again and things, my photography business really never skipped a beat because I was able to keep all those people with me through, my content. And so
Amazing.
from there, I got back shooting and creating more content for people in the Sacramento area. And then about 2022, I was like, okay, I think I'm over these like $250 shoots, $400 shoots, $500 shoots. I'm like, I need to create an offer that is really showing my level of expertise. Like when you shoot with me, you're not just going to show up and shoot. Like I want to know your brand. I want to know who you are. I want to know how to make you different. I want to know how to make you stand out, and kind of pairing that with my coaching background and like all the stuff that I've, launched all these group programs and taught people on a mass scale, but like created a really personal experience for my clients. So I like tripled my prices. I literally charged like, I think $1,500 for a photo shoot. And I was like, who's ever going to pay this? Well, a lot of people actually found it really valuable. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole market of people that value my expertise beyond just like shooting a cool picture. So that was really cool. And then I was like, okay, now a year later, like, where do I go from here? Like, how do I get to that next level? And it was constantly like year after year, it was like, okay, how can I elevate this? How can I take this to the next level? So, the Elevated Entrepreneur served me well. I was making good money, like doing the coaching stuff and the creative stuff, but I kind of didn't want to do the coaching stuff anymore. It was a lot of energy to be online all day, every day. And I really just wanted to be more behind the camera and behind the scenes. I felt like I was doing it all for like 5 years and I was ready for a change of pace. So that's when I found you guys, because I was like, if I could take on fewer projects but make more money, or have these elusive retainer clients, as you say. I'm like, what would my life be like? I wouldn't have to show up
Yes.
every day. I wouldn't have to be on all the time. And so that was a really big evolution for me this year. It's kind of, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, yeah, it's been a journey, but it's like every stage there was that need of like, I need a new skill. I need to get to the next level, and who can get me there? Like, who can I trust to like bring me to that next level? So
totally.
Yeah, when you inherited me in January.
I love it. So
I'm so glad we did. It's such a fun.
Let's park the car here for just a second because, again, I want to jump into everything about Break Room. But that's a really cool story. And I love what you said about I realized how to get attention online by being yourself and how that can, draw attention and create, clients.
Yeah.
And so you were able to do that for your photography business. You were able to attract a bunch of women that had their own businesses, their own personal brands that wanted you to shoot them and pay up to $1,500 per shoot, which is amazing. What can you teach us?
Yeah.
Or maybe even just speak to the person that's going, I know Instagram would be a massive way for me to make a lot of connections with my clients, but I hate it. I hate having to show up every day, or I don't know what to post. I don't know what to say. I don't feel comfortable doing little dances and stuff. Ashley, what do I do? How do I get clients as a photographer? Like, how do you do that as someone who doesn't feel comfortable in that ecosystem? What do you say to them?
I feel like there's so many different things. I think everybody has an expectation of how they should be online, when the way to really attract clients is being how you want to be. So if you're the person that's like, I hate showing up, I don't want to do this, what if you said like, hey, I feel so awkward showing up here. Where are my awkward people at? It's literally just about breaking that barrier. People think they need to be someone they're not in order to get attention. And it's truly just about being who you are. And I think so many people are scared to actually share who they are. But if you look at the trends of social media, you look what's going viral, you look who's popular, you look who's trending, it's people that are really not afraid to be vulnerable and just say what's on their mind. I feel like this is like my therapist tells me too, when I'm like, how do I bring that up in a conversation? She's like, you just say, hey, this might be kind of awkward. I don't really know how to bring this up, but blah, 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 blah. Just that alone takes the pressure off. How am I supposed to sound? How am I going to show up? How do I do this? It's like, maybe I just say I'm an entrepreneur building my business and I'm really scared of showing up online. And if you're here to support other women, like, you're my people. And like, that's it. Right. And I think people are scared to admit that they're scared, or they're scared to admit that they don't know everything. But the people that are pretending to know everything aren't the people that are really getting the attention, that people sense that level of like, she's trying too hard, because, we all
For
feel
sure.
that. There's like that innate like energy exchange when you get online of people where like, I love her. She's just not scared to be herself, but that can be different for everyone.
Totally.
That can
Absolutely.
be the people dancing and being super expressive. And that can be the people saying, hey, this is really awkward for me, but I'm doing it. And like, where are my awkward people at? Or just making community based on how they feel. And really quickly, I think something that's really smart, there's another photographer in this area, and I stumbled upon her website, and she was like, I'm the photographer for introverts. She's like, I'm super introverted, and that's her whole thing. And I was like,
that's
how
cool.
beautiful, because like I feel like I can be such a big personality and really loud and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not for everyone. Some people are maybe a little bit more intimidated and would seek out someone who is more quiet, more reserved. You know what I mean? There's just something for everyone. So I feel like there's, just like releasing, which is so hard, releasing that expectation of like how you think you need to show up, to just show up in truth, like as cheesy as it is, like.
So true.
Totally.
I love that.
I'm hearing you say a lot about just be yourself, just be who you are. Don't try and manipulate it or change it. We obviously talk a lot about that in the mastermind. Week one is all about brand. Like, what's your brand story? What are the different things that make you? What are the outlier effects in your brand? The things that make you go, oh, like when I see something, oh yeah, that's Ashley, right? For someone who's like, okay, Ashley, I'm hearing you say that. I want to just tell people that I'm awkward and that I don't enjoy this, but I know I should do it. Like, but what if they're kind of confused on maybe, and this gets deep, but like, what if they're even confused on like who they are? Like, what do you think would be a good step for them to figure that out? Because I think that's where a lot of creatives are. A lot of creatives spend 90% of their time judging who they are to everybody else's creative
Yeah.
stuff, rather than going like, oh, like, what am I about? What am I going to do? Right. So what's a step that you think can help somebody shift from all I do is watch and take in what other creatives are doing to I'm actually not just going to be a consumer, but I'm going to actually create, but I got to figure out what I am going to create first.
Yeah.
How
No,
do you
I
make that
love this
shift?
question so much because I'm a very spiritual person. My whole entrepreneurial journey started through self-discovery, through this exact process right here. And then when I was coaching, I was really teaching people how to do this. Like it was a self-discovery journey marketed as a business coach because it truly is that, right? And so for me, I was like, you really have to find the ways to connect with yourself. And at the time, I was big into, like meditation. And I found myself when I was hiking and like out in nature, swimming in the lake, like I started to become aware of moments that I was like, I want to take a picture of this and remember this forever. Or, I want to like savor this moment for myself. Like moments that just made me be like, life is worth living, and like, who am I in these moments? And for me, it's like when I'm at music festivals, when I'm listening to music, when I'm dancing, when I'm hiking, when I'm whatever it is, like I could get chills thinking about those memories and like how much that means to me. And that's what I started building my brand off of. I started sharing my hikes, like hike with me today or whatever. I started sharing like, music I was listening to that was inspiring me. And like over time, that turned into what I look back now as my brand. But I didn't sit there and say, okay, how can I build my brand? I like this, 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 this. It was more so like, okay, let me like live my life for a bit and see what really lights me up. And at the time, this is kind of funny because I was teaching. And so I'm like, what do I do on spring break? Like, what do I do when I have free time? Like, who am I to myself? Like, that's like the biggest question, right? Who am I?
Yeah.
But it was like, what do I do with my free time? And like, what am I really into? And those things are what I'm really into. My business partner, she's like, I watch Bravo and love reality TV. That's her thing. And she talks about it all the time. And so I think it's really like owning what you really like to do in your free time behind closed doors. And if you don't know what that is, I remember when I was single, like a while back, like I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about dating. And it was like, if you don't think you're interesting, find something to be interested in. Like go test out hobbies and see what you're interested in. Like,
That's a great line.
That's so good.
Go get interesting. Like go read a book, go jump in the lake. Do you like it or not? I don't know. Like go get an opinion, And I'm like, it's true because you could sit there and be like, I don't know who I am. And it's like, well, go out and figure it out. That's what life is all about,
Yes,
So
absolutely. I like how that correlates with business and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's so helpful for somebody because even when you really actually say, and I sometimes do this as like just a good exercise on developing your own personal brand is looking at someone who's being really successful online and going, what are like their 3 characteristics, right? And you can always find 3, right? It's
brand
like
pillars,
what are these brand pillars that it seems like they have that they associate with their clientele, and it helps make that personal connection. And like I think of like, one of our friends up in Canada, and it's like he loves his lawn lines. Like he literally takes his lawnmower and does lawn lines and always posts about it.
Posted today. It's beautiful lawn.
Beautiful lawn lines. He loves barbecuing. He has like a great smoker. He's got a green egg. And then he loves like his family and taking them out on trips. And then he has this whole other business that's not related to lawn lines at all, but it helps build like personal connection. So I think what you're saying, I think is resonating with, us and then our listeners as well of like, hey, what are those 3 brand pillars that I can start just like infusing in my brand? And if I don't have an interesting thing about me, go find something interesting about me. I love that. That's so good. Okay, I want to shift.
That should be the quote. Can I just say one more thing before you shift?
Of course.
Just a quick tip that Ashley just said. I just want to make sure this isn't missed. If you're listening to the show, do not miss this. If you want to do social well, you can post. You have permission to post about all these random things that aren't actually perfectly in line with what your business is. You can post about the lawn lines. You can post about jumping in a lake on a random Thursday afternoon because we talk about this all the time in the mastermind. People love to work with people they know, they like, and they trust. Right. So I love that you just said that, Ashley. It's a great reminder for everybody listening that your business has to be about your business. So all your content's got to be relevant to your business, but showing who you are is a massive, massive stake in the ground that allows people to go, oh, you know what? I like Ashley. Yeah. We should consider working with her.
Absolutely.
Right.
Super important.
That's so good.
All right. Especially too in photography because it is a little bit of a vulnerable thing. Like,
yes.
And especially like I found with women, like when my clients, they were like, I already feel like I know you, from your content and from your
Yeah.
stories and like talking to you. Like when we show up to shoot, there's like no awkwardness. It's not like the first
Yeah.
date where you're like, hi, I'm Ashley. So
Right.
I think that is huge. And when I was like coaching and working with other photographers, that was the first thing I would say. I'm like, I don't see your face anywhere on your feed. And that should
Mm.
be everywhere. Like I should know who you are
Yeah.
just from being on your
Yes.
page.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, shifting gears here, because we're kind of talking about the personal branding side of the creative, of the person listening. I would love to talk a little bit and just touch on how do you shape an offer for personal brand clients? Like, so a lot of people, if they're maybe like, hey, I'm trying to exit the wedding space, or I'm just new and I don't want to do weddings or couples or family or whatever, and I want to be in the brand space, but like, I don't want to shoot just products. Like,
Yeah.
what is this whole personal brand space? Like, how do I shape an offer to actually sell somebody something like that?
Yeah.
And then how do I do it for not just like $200 a shoot, $500 a
Yeah.
shoot? How do I
Yeah.
actually create something like a package that is
Yeah.
high end and worth it for somebody? So can you talk about why is the service of offering something in personal brand important to a client? Like, what does it actually do for somebody? And then what is like a specific offer that you could kind of tell people, like the $1,500 offer, things like that? How can you kind of dive into that just a little bit?
Totally. I think it's really like kind of just putting what we just talked about like into an offer, right? It's like, I'm going to help you share your personality and I'm going to help you figure out these pieces of you that are unique and different and like out there and help you showcase them so that you can stand out. And especially with personal branding, like you need to be a little bit of an investigator to help them realize what is
Yep.
special and unique about them. Because just like we were just talking about, if you look in the mirror and you're like, what's special about me? If you just say, well, send me what is special about you, they're going to be like, well, I don't know. So part of being a personal brand photographer is doing a little bit of digging and soul searching. And I felt like that's what kind of lended really nicely like to my offer was I've already done that. I already did this. I've done this with coaching clients. I've done this with myself. And it's really just about getting to know someone and their quirks. And do you like, what's your favorite Starbucks drink? Do you like Starbucks? Do you not? So more so helping them showcase the unique things about them and then creating, a shoot day around that. Like, what colors are they wearing? Where are you located? Are they beach people? Like finding these little aspects and creating a day shoot around that, And like the thing is with personal brands, they need a ton of content. Like they need daily content. They need photo. They need iPhone video. They need, like just so much variety. So it makes it really fun to plan a shoot. So something that I always included in my packages, my first, like when I charged $1,500 and I was like, who am I? But it was called a full media day. So instead of shooting for just an hour, I made it like a 5-hour production. So I'm like, we don't need to stress about time. I would help them plan out their outfits that they were going to wear. I would say we have like 5 looks. So I included like 5 different looks. I kind of helped them plan outfits that I knew would look good in their feed, kind of all spread out because obviously I wanted to look cohesive, but spread out in their feed. And then adding in that video component, that's what really started to set me apart from any other brand photographer in my area, because you could hire a videographer and you could hire a photographer, but no one was really taking advantage of like, I'm going to give you 200 iPhone videos after our shoot of like behind the scenes or little B-roll things. And people pounced at that and were like, oh my gosh, I've never seen something like this. I need that. And I just marketed it as you need reels. You need reels to connect with your audience, and I'm going to help you create them. You need a variety of photos that showcase who you are, and I'm going to help you create them. You constantly need fresh content to show off your style or your vibe, and I'm going to help you create that. So I think with personal brands, it's such a different market, but I don't really know anything different. So for me, it's just kind of like an extension of what's always been important on social media. Because coming from from me building a personal brand, I'm like, I need content all the time. Like, I need fresh stuff. And here's how I'm going to do this for you too. So
that's super cool, Ashley. I love that. And that's a retainer offer right there. That is not like I'm refreshing your headshots for your website.
It can be.
It can be. But that's not a recurring problem every month, right? Whereas this of like, I'm creating a social story for you to share with your potential clients to keep attracting people every single month. that's a recurring offer, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So I love that. And that's kind of how you have really pushed into the break room marketing, is by this recurring problem of people not only sharing online, but also themselves sharing it online. Because as you've probably seen with past clients, and this has happened 100% with us, is you create this incredible like library of content, and it never gets posted, or it gets posted in the wrong way, or it's misused and it doesn't hit, and you're like, oh, it's not the content's problem, it's the actual delivery problem.
The distribution,
The distribution of that.
Totally.
So I would love to kind of touch on when, like, I know you said like, oh, me and my, friend were just like sitting in our living room and we're like, should we do this? And let's talk a little bit about partnerships, because partnerships can be the best thing ever, or it can be the thing that sinks your life and your ship and everything. So like, I think partnerships is something, I mean, we're in a partnership, not only just marriage, but also in business.
Right.
You're in a partnership, and you went from being a solo entrepreneur into a partnership. And having that hindsight, what advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about going into business with their friend, or thinking about going into business with their spouse, or whoever it is, their partner?
I
What would you
honestly, like, I absolutely love having a business partner. Like, I was really looking for someone to do business with. Kind of like, I'm looking for someone to do life with. It's like, I was really looking for someone to do business with, but I would say I wouldn't have done it with anyone. And I will just shout out Tori from the rooftops. I think we have really complementary skill sets.
So important.
And I feel like I've respected her business our whole time we've been friends. And I've always seen her as someone who's like top notch, And so a lot of times I feel like people are like, just go into business with anyone, or like their friend asks and you're like, sure. It wasn't really like that. I feel like it was very much like, I see you and you see me, and we've both built things. We both have our track record. We both have things that we're bringing into this. And I think you just have to be really smart about who it is, and like really think about it. I remember coming to you guys and saying like, hey, I'm kind of thinking about doing this. I remember Joey, you were like, be careful, not all partnerships are good partnerships, but there was just
it was like you were I remember that conversation so clearly. It was like you were like single and like coming to like the parents being like, can I marry this person? And we're like, well, let me get my list of questions out. But it is true. Yeah. You do have to ask those really
It's something to be
questions.
really skeptical of, for sure. And now you did a great job of
and
of
it's
pursuing
so cool.
it, not with like skeptical sounds like a negative word. I mean skeptical in a positive way, like, okay, what are all the possibilities of where this could go, and how do I make sure I walk those out so that I can really make sure this is I'm making a good decision.
What do you think are some reasons someone shouldn't get in a partnership? Like, what are some reasons of like, let me just open up the question to you. Like, if someone's thinking this, they shouldn't get in a partnership for that reason.
Yeah, I feel like if someone's thinking that like they're just going to carry the team, or like I'm just going to carry the team, or that there will somehow be like imbalance, that would be a really hard thing, because I feel like co-ownership is so like you have to trust each other equally. I feel like I feel like my voice is heard, and I feel like her voice is heard, and I trust her when she makes moves without me, and she trusts me to make moves without her, or whatever. And we want the same things. Like there was never, any kind of like shady feeling about it or anything. I feel like as a coach and as a mentor for so many years, I've been pitched a few times like, oh, we should start this business together. Oh, we should do this. And I'm like, but I would be doing so much of it. I don't want anybody to lean on me for my expertise. I want it to feel like a true equal thing, that we're both going to make each other better. And we both want this just as much as the other. And like communication, if I was like scared to come to somebody, or scared to like say I messed up or whatever, I feel like we have such a healthy respect for each other and such a healthy level of communication, where it's like, I, really dropped the ball today. I'm sorry. My head is like going a million miles a minute. I need to take an hour and I'll come back. She's like, take the rest of the day. I got it, or vice versa. Like there's just like an inherent level of trust. And I think it's because we've been friends for a long time, and we've been business-ish partners in the past. Like we kind of had a trial run of that. And, we had that meetup group back in 2019 before the pandemic hit, and just kind of seeing how we worked together then.
Love that.
we kind of had a test run in a way. So we weren't walking in blindly by any means. It was like, I know where you live. I know your kids. I know your family, you know, like, and I know how you run business. And that was really important to me. Like, I know.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Totally.
So you guys built this thing. It's grown pretty quick.
Yes.
You in the last 6 months, you theoretically went from 0 to 30K in recurring revenue, building this new social agency.
Wow.
So what have you learned about rapid growth? Because I'm sure in a lot of ways it's felt like you're just holding on with everything you have. What have you learned about growing something that has a ton of momentum?
Honestly, it's just you better hold on. But I also think that we've both learned we're smarter than we think, and that we're just handling stuff as it comes. And looking back, we're like, how did we do that? And it's like, probably like parenting or whatever. It's like, you just do it. You just you go for like the next step. So like today, what are we struggling with and how can we solve it? We're not like, okay, let's hire this big team and train everyone because we're expecting big growth. It was like, hey, we have this new inquiry. If they sign on, we're going to need someone else. Okay, let's start putting feelers out. Let's do this. And it was really just gradual. It's like, what's that next step in front of us? Like day by day by day. And actually, it's like really cool. We just kind of got our reports back from the beginning of the year from our bookkeeper. And it was like 5K, 10K, 12K, 25K. It was like every single month, this like steady growth. And we were like, we did that. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And, you know, our team, like we hired one, and then we hired two, and now we have a whole team of like 5 people. And we're like, oh my gosh, we did that. We hired people. Like, you know, like
we're a legit business.
So cool.
That's awesome.
So what have you learned about that then? Let's talk on that, because I think that's a point where a lot of creatives, and typically I diagnose this stage typically in the $80,000 to about $120,000 range a year. When they start to go, okay, I think I should really start to consider outsourcing or hiring someone to run my emails, or, you know, field inquiries for me, or post on my social media for me, second shoot, like whatever it's going to be. It's typically in that range when people start to really consider that. And I'm talking solopreneurs. You're obviously doing this in a partnership, but what have you learned about hiring as a company? Because it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, why, like who's teaching me how to do this? You know, like I'm responsible for like hiring someone. Like, how do I know what I'm doing? You know, we've been through that. What have you learned about hiring, especially when you're hiring because it's like immediate growth? You need to hire. What have you learned about it?
Honestly, we learned to hire within our network first. Like we posted on Instagram, we got a ton of interest, and then we came together. We're like, with this interest, like who do we know the best? Who has a resume that kind of speaks for itself? You know, like we can look at their Instagram, or we've worked with them before. And it ended up being like old clients that were kind of in the same position that I was 6 months ago. Like I'm kind of looking for a change. I ran my own business. I have my own thing. But I'm looking for a team. I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for more stability as I grow my family. And we were like, okay, we want to hire people with experience, and for that we're gonna have to pay. And so we were kind of like, we could go the cheap route, but then our quality would diminish, or we'd have to spend a lot of time training someone. And we were like, we want to uphold this level of quality, and we want to hire good people who want to grow with us. So that was like a really big factor. And what we interviewed about, we were like, where do you see yourself in here? You know, like, what do you see? Are you looking for a side gig, or are you looking to grow with a company? Because we want people who want to grow with a company. And we had to really think about what our values were and what we were looking for, and also what we were willing to pay for. Because you really, you know, we wanted to pay for good quality work and people that we trusted would do a good job. So our team consists of people, it's kind of funny, that we already knew in some capacity in our lives. No one is a stranger. Our junior content creator, she works at a fitness center that I did a brand shoot for like last year. And she was like, you came and did photos for us. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. She's like, I've been following you guys. Like, I love what you guys are doing. It's so exciting to see. And we're like, okay, that feels right. You know, someone who's really in it for what we're doing and not just looking for a job.
Love that. Love that. That's really
great.
cool. How are you guys attracting clients right now? Because there's probably people out there that have started an agency or started my business. And I would love to get people on retainer, and I would love to like be attracting people and have these months that are continually upward trajectory. But like, I'm just not attracting inquiries. Like, I'm not like, I don't even know the word inquiry right now. Like, all I'm doing is either pitching and it just feels like cold and weird or whatever. How are you guys getting your clients right now? And what do you think caused them to also reach out to you? Because I'm sure it's probably both.
Yeah. So right now, I feel like we're in a spot where we are attracting clients through Instagram. And Tori from day one was like, we need a legit brand. You know, when she was freelancing, she was working also behind the scenes for someone who is a brand designer and web designer and just like kills it in the online industry. And so, you know, we've both known the importance of that. So right off the bat, we invested in like strong branding, brand photos. Like we wanted to come out the gates like we're legit. You know, we're not just this like behind mom and pops agency. We're like, we want to be front runners. You know, that was the energy.
Yes.
So we invested in that early on. And now I feel like people are seeing that. They're seeing, you know, what we're doing, but also referrals. So like referrals are huge. Like client experience is huge for us. And also when Tori was working with that other client, she was creating brands and websites for all these people that were at a very similar stage of business who are our ideal clients. So when people are like, who does your social? She was like, oh, these girls are, you know, so it's really referral based. And also another shout out to Tori. She is so good at just emailing connections and being like, hey, we started this agency. You know, if you need support, like let us know. Like casual, easy, people that we've known, or like, hey, Meredith, some of your contract, or, you know, whatever. Making a connection. And that's been really successful as well. So kind of a lot of different things. And like I mentioned, like we both have, you know, ties in this community. It was just like an adjacent move for both of us. It wasn't like starting brand new in a brand new industry with no connections. So I feel like that also really helped as well. You know, we were kind of established in having connections with people who were ideal clients.
That's so cool. I love that.
Or, you know, posting about it or whatever wasn't like this big crazy thing. We had a pretty warm audience, I would say, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
That's cool.
One last thing I'll say about that before you move on is you were convinced of the value. Like you were like, oh, that was the energy right out of the gate. Like we were going to be legit. We're coming out and we're doing this. And that's not just like, oh, our brand was going to be legit. I can read between the lines and hear you saying we were going to deliver a legit service. We were going to give value. We were actually going to be good. Like there's nothing worse than trying to go out and get clients when you're not convinced of your own value. So it's so important that as you're building something, just to take away from your story on this, Ashley, like you've got to actually build something that's worth getting excited about, which you guys built, right? Because it helps so much. It's so much easier to email those connections, reach out, go up and talk to somebody in person when you actually are convinced of what you do solves the problem. So if you're listening to the pod and you're like, man, I don't feel like I have that energy to go out and email people, cold pitch, or even walk up to somebody, you know, in public or talk to an old connection of mine, you might just not be operating on the right solution right now, and you need to double down and really figure out how your solution is going to bring more value, because once you do that, you cannot help but share it.
100%. Like we feel so convicted in what we're doing, and that was like Tori's energy early on because she was freelancing doing it, and she's like, I'm seeing literally behind the scenes how much impact I'm having on these businesses. And they wouldn't be experiencing this level of growth without me. And like, I know we can replicate this and do this for so many other people. Are you on board? And I'm like,
I love that.
Like, I feel that too. Like just, and that's what kind of morphed into our company value, right? We were like, you know, trying to create a training for our employees. Like, what do we believe in? I'm like, no, let's just really think about this. Like, we believe in quality work. We believe in creating a difference in people's lives. And then it became really easy. You know, it's not just something we're doing for staff training. It's like, we feel this, you know, and it's helpful. And like, I feel like our team feels that too. And like, we also just like value our team being on that same energy, you know, like we want to do good in the world while we're doing good for ourselves. And like, what more could you ask for? You know, like,
absolutely.
Really
And in such a short amount of time. Like
great.
6 months is incredible, Ashley. So like
Can't even
seriously,
grow a
kudos
baby
to
in that
you.
time, and you got a $30,000 per month business.
I
It's so
know, it's
inspiring,
really
and I think it's
crazy.
so inspiring for the people listening. And we've just watched you crush it and just take so much ownership over it and be confident about your value. And I think it's really inspiring for other people, which is awesome. So I'm going to take us back 6 months ago. I want to ask you a little bit about your experience in this mastermind that you
Yes.
did, round 11, which was so cool.
Yeah.
Talk to us about kind of
Thanks.
why. I know we touched a little bit about it on the beginning, but like, why did you join it? What
Yeah.
was drawing you to it? What were like expectations of kind of like, hey, why am I even doing this at all? Why am I not just like soloing it out still and doing this thing on my own?
Totally. Something that really drew me, I remember like I got an Instagram ad and it was you, Christy, saying something that was just like speaking to me. It was like, you're a solo brand photographer, like trying to make it past X amount of whatever. Like, and I was like, oh my God, it's me. So I was like, who are these people? And then I binged your podcast and I'm like, everything just hit exactly of what I was feeling in that moment. Feeling like I can only go this far with what I know. And I'm feeling burnt out. I'm feeling that like rat race. I'm feeling like I don't know where my next client is going to come from, and I've been doing this for a long time and I shouldn't be feeling like this. Like, how do I get to that next level so I can, just shift a little bit? And I've always been someone who values mentorship and coaching, and that's just been so helpful on my journey. And I can never say it enough, like how much having people in your corner at that next step is like imperative for your business growth, like hands down. And so honestly, I was like, I need to apply. I was like sitting in a parking lot, like filling out the little video application. I'm like, I want them to see how passionate I am about this. Like, I'm gonna send a video,
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really about it. And I feel like I really just wanted to learn how to create more stability and be around other creatives that were learning that. I don't think there's a lot of spaces for this niche of brand photographers. Like, I've never seen this before. And I've joined business masterminds, but everyone's business is so different, so the advice is a little bit watered down. But I feel like you guys can give specific things, and even on all the calls, every answer to every question was relevant because we're all very niched into that area.
Same industries.
So it was so helpful.
It is fun when you're in a community of people, because we've experienced that as well. Like, we've been, we really value education. We really value putting ourselves around other people. And there is something special about the creative industry when you can find another person that just gets it. And like, it's not about like, oh, they're selling real estate and I'm selling, photography. It's like, there is commonalities there, but there really is like such a close connection with creatives. Talk about the community. Like, was the community a big piece for you? Or like or even just like, what were your favorite parts during the 6 weeks that you felt like you saw some momentum happen inside of your business?
Honestly, like, and I've been in a lot of group coaching programs, but I feel like these were the only calls like I actually felt like we're moving the needle forward. In so many calls, it's like just a bunch of people asking questions and you're kind of like waiting for your turn. But the way that you guys structure the calls, where I got to meet so many people like privately in our breakout rooms, and like then I really felt like, wow, I'm really rooting for you. Like, I know you now, and I know your goals and I know your struggles, and like I see you, and I'm here for you, and like I like all their shit on Instagram, and like
yes,
like,
yes,
I just want them to succeed. I just want them to do well, and like having not only on those calls, but then our pods and like the group chat, like everything just felt really like high vibe, and I love that because I love sharing wins. I love hearing people win. I love just like the energy of like people making forward progress. Like, that's why we're all here, and it was really nice to know that. Whether you're having a great day or the worst day ever, like someone's there for you. That's not your partner that's hurt you a bazillion times or, whatever.
Yes.
So that was really like unmatched for sure.
That's awesome.
I love it. What's one thing that you feel like you've taken from the mastermind that's built into you having a $30,000 per month business? What's a piece that you're like, oh, I've implemented this and this has helped us grow a lot?
I think, like you said, like knowing your value and delivering value and not really like chasing a sale necessarily, but like really communicating the value you're bringing to someone's business and life overall, like I think that was something that it like lit something in me when you said it on one of the trainings. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. And like value stacking an offer so that when you're selling it, it's like so obvious
Yeah.
that this is helpful for them.
Yes.
And like, and the right people are going to be like, oh my gosh, yeah. Like sales feel so like easy. We're like, this is what we can do for you. And we're going to do all of this. And people feel so refreshed. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this feels really good,
Yeah.
Well, I love that.
instead of just being sold something with like
Yeah.
random
For
or
sure.
something, or
Totally,
like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, problem solving. That's the
Yes,
key to
it
everything,
is.
right?
Yeah,
It is.
really
It
is.
is. You talked about confidence earlier in the show. Problem solving, when you finally get a grasp on, like, okay, I actually understand how I am built and engineered to solve problems for the marketplace, for the female brand space, for the wedding industry, like whatever it is so good. It feels so good to be like, I actually get what I'm good at.
Yeah.
I get how I can actually solve a problem for someone. Oh my gosh, I feel so good about myself. It is the biggest confidence booster. And it's not only just knowing how you can help one industry. When you learn how to problem solve, it's transferable, right? You can go like, I now understand how to see problems and develop solutions to fill the gap. I can go anywhere with this and I am going to be a person of value. And that is so good. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my follow-up question to this. What would you tell Ashley? Today's Ashley, tell Ashley 6 months ago. What would you say to her?
Honestly, like I would say like trust the process. Like I could not have imagined that this is where I would be right now because I was so pigeonholed into what I was doing. And there was like that one point, I think I came to you guys. I'm like, should I be this person or this person? Or should I do this or this or this? I was really at a crossroads. And looking back, I'm like, just trust. Like, just trust that this is all going to unfold. And like say yes to the opportunities that present themselves.
Love
because
that.
that was literally the biggest like blessing in disguise. And I was so nervous to release my business.
Yeah.
And I would tell myself like, you've never been scared of change or evolution or growth in the past. So like, what's different this time, because change is scary. And sometimes when you like, even for people that are coming in and selling $200 an hour packages and they're like, what? I'm going to charge $3,000 for this full day shoot. And oh my gosh. And it's like, yeah, like it's time to evolve. Like new things are coming. You can't just stay where you are,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can be really scary and intimidating when you're looking at it. But like in hindsight, you'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, we did that.
I did that.
Okay,
I
we're all
did
good
that.
right now. It's good.
Yes, I should have had more confidence in the changes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Hindsight's so helpful for that. Well, that's really cool. Okay, we have a final signature question that we love to ask.
Real
But
quick.
before we do that,
I was in there before. Where can people find you?
where can people find you?
Okay, yeah. So we're at To The Break Room on Instagram. It's a fun page to follow. It's like a complete 90s brand. So it's been really
it's so
fun too. When
cute.
we're creating content, we're like, all about the friends and like just old
Love it.
movies. It's like so nostalgic to create. It's hilarious. So To The Break Room on Instagram and website to come soon.
Amazing.
Nice.
And then if people want to follow you personally, where should they go?
Yeah, so the Elevated Entrepreneur is my personal handle. I'll be transitioning to like personal brand stuff, but you can check out like brand packages and stuff on there still. I'm kind of in that
Great.
like transition phase right
Yeah.
now, moving
Amazing.
everything
Very
over.
cool.
So
Maybe get
still
some
there.
like lake dives in the
Yep.
stories over the
Exact-
summer, all those good vibes. I love it. Okay, and
100%.
then final question, why should someone break the creative struggle? Why is it worth it to like bet on yourself and just go for it? What would you say personally? Why should you break the creative struggle?
because there's so much life to live that's like outside that stressful bubble. Like life it just gets so much better when you're not worried 95% of your day about
Yeah.
what's going to happen. When you can predict and plan and feel secure, it's kind of like life opens up again and there's just like a new level of like security and
Yep.
freedom
Yeah.
and that feels so good.
Yep.
I love that.
100%.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great answer.
That
I love
is.
that answer.
That's like
yeah.
a bite size. Just
Yeah.
take that, turn it into a reel. Done. I love
Yeah.
it.
Perfect.
Burst the bubble. Get out of the little struggle bubble.
Yeah.
Struggle.
That's gonna be my new-
struggle
The struggle bubble. That's going to be my
Oh.
new thing. Get out of the struggle bubble.
Yeah.
Pop it. Let's go. All right.
That's
I love
great.
it. Ashley, this has been great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being on the podcast. So cool just to have you share everything. It's been an awesome 6 months watching you, obviously getting to get to know you really well in the mastermind, help you build some of these pieces that have now laid out what you're living in now, and then watching you just commit to it and continue to build and continue to build. So from us, huge congrats.
Really
And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. I'll chat with you guys any day.
Sounds
Love
good.
it.
Have
Thanks,
a great
Ashley.
day, Ashley.
All right, bye.
All right. Well, that was such a fun conversation with Ashley. She is so cool. We literally, right after we hopped off, but right after we hit stop on the recording, I was like, okay, when are we grabbing coffee? This is incredible. Let's keep talking. And we'll have to have her back on for sure in another 6 months, because who knows where Ashley's going to be in another 6 months. So I hope that was really inspiring for you to listen to somebody who's so amped and excited about their business and yet so honest with like, who am I? What do I desire? How do I build something that's actually going to be fulfilling and not just profitable, right? And kind of the combination of those two things is really where the magic happens in business. And I think you start to understand how to do that. You start to understand, how do you want to present yourself to the industry? What really lights you up? And sometimes that's best done in community with other creatives that can help push you, ask you those right questions, people who've gone before you, people that are alongside you, people that are maybe a step behind you. Having that diverse group of people around you and supporting you is so, so important. And if you are someone who's like, I don't have that, like I'm kind of solo entrepreneuring it right now, I'm feeling burnt out, I'm feeling all of those things, and maybe you really resonated with what Ashley was saying, if you are in that spot, good news, you can actually jump in to the next Creativ Rise Mastermind, which is happening this fall. We are so, so excited. The next one starts September 15th. So it's the first time we're actually saying the date of this, but September 15th is when the next mastermind starts. Now, applications are going to open September 1st to the public, but if you want to get in at a special price, you want to get your application in before anybody else does, you can jump on the waitlist. It's totally free, no commitment, and waitlist actually gets access to the application August 28th, which is super exciting. So if you want in on the next 6-week mastermind, if you want to go through what Ashley went through and transform your business and give yourself the foundation of building a 6-figure business and to just challenge yourself and do it in a way that's healthy and fulfilling and not just like a hustle culture, you are going to love this. So all you got to do, hop on the waitlist, is go to creativrise.com. There's a bunch of buttons. You won't miss it. Jump on the waitlist there. If you scroll down the site, you can see what each and every week is going to cover. This isn't just like, hey, we hop on a Zoom call once a week for 6 weeks and that's it. We have an entire library of content that covers so many things like branding, marketing, sales, all of the stuff that's going to give you the tools of what you need to build a profitable business that actually doesn't burn you out and that can light you up and make you so excited about life and owning a business. So if that's something that you are interested in, jump on that wait list. If you've got questions about whether or not that's right for you, Joey and I would love to chat with you. Send us a DM at Creativ Rise. And we're happy to chat. This is like, we're literally the ones in the DMs and answering every single person. So if you've got a question, jump on in there. We're happy to chat. And yeah, thanks so much for listening to this, you guys. If this helped you at all, we would love if you would share on your Instagram story, tag us, tag Ashley. We'll put all of her details in the description of this podcast so you can go and follow along with her journey there and shoot her a message just to say thanks. So yeah, we will see you guys next week and we hope you have a great day. Bye.